Unbelievable. The Pittsburgh Penguins are your five-time Stanley Cup champions. Anthony, I'll let you handle the rest.
Well, as you can see, I can finally wear Penguins gear. It's been since freaking, I don't know, April?
Yes.
Yeah, April. It's been since April. I have not been able to wear hockey gear during a Penguin game because I wasn't buying it because we lost when I wore it.
See?
So now I can wear this. And it wore off because look at this. This one's got a cup on it, Dan.
Ooh.
And look, it's got this year. Wow.
2017. Glorious. Phenomenal.
So this one, I don't know, and we'll talk about it, but this one tastes or feel a little better to you than last year, or does it feel about the same? What do you think?
Oh, they were both so fantastic to just take it in. I don't know which one I like more. I kind of rank them at I don't know. I'd say this one's a little bit better just because last year you kind of felt like they had a better chance of doing it. This year with the injuries and the fatigue and Letang being out and, just a lot of different uncertainties, a lot more uncertainties compared to the year before. So that's why I'd give the slight edge to this year's. Plus, it's repeating. That's very hard to do. Obviously, history is the judge of that. So I think with all that added up, I'd give the edge to this year.
Well, you know what? Mike Sullivan called it at the last year's parade. Do you remember what he said?
I know. I watched it. I literally went.
He said, and I quote, "Let's do this again next year."
Sully knew.
He knew.
I love that guy.
You know what? No, you're right, though, because each Stanley Cup championship had two different roles. Last year's role was this team was in 12th place in December, January. Everybody already started crossing them off the list as possible contenders, and they had a phenomenal second half of the year run to make the Cup final. And everybody, as we progressed through the rounds, were convinced the Penguins will win.
Mm-hmm.
The Penguins are going to win the Stanley Cup this year. It doesn't matter. Once they took the Capitals down last year, everybody was like, "That's it. They got it." This year, a little different, and I like this year's a little bit better because as much as I loved last year's run, it was a phenomenal run. It was great to see him get that fourth title. This year's run, I think, was more special because it's almost like the story of the little train that could, because all season long, all you ever heard. Injury, player out. This guy's out for 4 to 6 weeks. This player's injured. For God's sakes, your starting goaltender goes out game 1. Like, what else do you want to throw injury-wise at this team? And yet, at the end of a long, grueling 107-game season for the Penguins, they get to hoist the Stanley Cup. Broken fingers, tibula, hernia or herniated disc, pulled groin, Bonino walking around, concussions. I mean, and they all lifted it. And I felt like this year's might have hurt a little bit more. But for them, I bet you it felt a little bit sweeter when they crossed the finish line this year. Especially for the players that were injured and playing injured. You know what I mean?
A lot of guys were banged up.
And I bet you even Matt Murray wasn't 100%. Even though he had 2 shutouts, I bet you it was still bothering him.
Sure.
Because that's still – a pulled groin's a rush back injury.
That is.
Thankfully, the one saving grace that everybody some look over, some don't, was that they made the smart move of hanging on to Fleury till the end of the season, and it paid off. Because could you imagine if they ended up trading him mid-season and now you have Tristan Jarry –
he would
have never have done anything. Columbus would have rolled them.
Yep.
So, give props to both goaltenders. This is the first Stanley Cup that I've seen where you've had 2 goaltenders pitch in to win. It's not, the backup steps in because it's 5-0. You know what I mean? This was Fleury earned 9 of them. Murray got 7 of them.
Could you not think of a more perfect way for Fleury to make his exit? I mean, it literally wrote itself. Like, they both did it together, and he literally handed Murray the cup. Cheers now, buddy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I always said he's had one of the most charismatic players in the league. He always knows how to handle the situation in a humble and enjoyable way. And like he always said in his post-game interviews throughout the playoff run, he said, "I'm just out here having fun." He's not. I'm sure he's worried about winning, and when he loses, he doesn't want to lose. He wants to win. He's a competitive person. But it's on the other hand, he's enjoying the moment that he's in because he knows where he's at. So I give him props for Sullivan and everybody. They had a lot of pressure in the Stanley Cup final to decide, who are we going to put in net after Murray had questionable game 3 and 4. Especially with the media harking on him saying that they should swap goalies. I give him props for sticking to his gun.
What I like about Murray,
and they got it done.
He's very confident. He has all this stress and stuff. You notice it doesn't bother him. He has a very calm demeanor, and I think that will help him in the future.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It helped. It showed. He didn't do so well in those games, but he was still able to bounce back. That's the thing that matters.
Yeah. He bounced back, and he bounced back in a big way.
Wow.
I think everybody was concerned after Game 4, where we were known as Matt Murray's the bounce back goalie. He doesn't lose 2 in a row, and everybody saw the second loss, and they're sitting there going, "Now what?"
Mm-hmm.
But the confidence that Sullivan had in Murray to keep him in pays off as he gets 2 back-to-back shutouts. He went 147 minutes without allowing a goal.
Unreal. His second Stanley Cup in his rookie season.
His true rookie season. So, give him props. He's if they can keep, the players around, we'll see what happens, and we'll talk about the draft here in a little bit. But if they can keep a strong core of offensive-minded players around him, they have a decent shot at, nobody wants to talk about it yet, but they have a decent shot at a three-peat, Dan.
I'd love that. But
it's not a hand given.
No, it never is.
Definitely be marked this season.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the other thing to look at is on the outside, the Capitals are going to break apart a little bit here. I think, just players getting old, players getting frustrated that they haven't even advanced to the third round. That's going to get to some of the players. I'm sure it's gotten to the coaches. They won't say it, but that's got to be frustrating.
Yeah.
So
I can imagine.
On the other hand, though, you have another Goliath coming to the field with Columbus. They showed the league that they belonged in the playoffs, in the playoff picture. They fought hard against Pittsburgh.
They did.
The series number 4-1 doesn't do justice to how well Columbus played in the playoffs. They gave it their all. They didn't know they were playing against the future Stanley Cup champ.
Yeah.
So, but no, you're right though. It's the right way for Fleury to leave given the circumstance. He literally hands the cup off to the next goaltender. So It's his turn to defend it. He got to have his skate around. As we all know, he would have loved to be out there to win Game 6 and win the cup, but he knows as a team that if it wasn't for him winning the first 9, they never would have got there in the first place. For God's sakes, the guy had to shut out Washington at home. In Verizon Center, something that never happens to the Capitals at home, regular season or playoffs, and he managed to shut him out. So, after an abysmal Game 6 at home, give him props. Wherever he goes, he is going to be a tough opponent for the Penguins, and that's the way we're going to have to look at it. Is wherever he goes, the Penguins are going to have to play him, Dan. Because he's looking for a starting role, and he's not going to take a backup role. He's already expressed that pretty clearly that by offering to leave Pittsburgh, he wants a starting job. So it might be with – go ahead.
Wherever he goes, doesn't matter what jersey he has on, he will always be a Pittsburgh Penguin to me.
And you know what I was thinking about when they were talking about all the trade stuff? Wait till they have a home game where Fleury is the opposition goaltender and they do their welcome back.
I'm going to cry. I'm telling you right now.
That's going to be some crazy shit to see a bunch of fans from Pittsburgh cheering for the opposite guy.
The whole place.
That's going to look cool. That's going to look really cool.
It's going to be surreal.
So,
hey,
but you know what? On a serious note here, let's look at something that I feel like people are overlooking a little bit here. And I think everybody kind of got a wake-up call when they saw the unprotected list for the Penguins. There is a very real chance that Fleury does not get drafted. I know a lot of people are like, well, why wouldn't you take Fleury? He's a 3-cup champ. He's in his young 30s. Prime goaltender. He showed he's a good goaltender, as always. His numbers are there. But I'll play devil's advocate here and look at this. What if they did this? Because Brian Rust, Carl Hagelin, Chris Kunitz, some of those guys are unprotected. I don't have the whole list in my head. I have some of them. Mata's protected. I'm annoyed, Dan. We're gonna leave it at there. But they could easily pick up somebody like Brian Rust and take him.
I'd hate to lose him.
And then come back to the Penguins knowing they have 3 goaltenders that would be in the NHL level because they signed Gustafsson to a 3-year deal. Knowing the Penguins need to free that salary space up, and they trade with them to get Fleury. And they steal 2 players from the Stanley Cup champion team. Because if they do that, they have Rutherford's hand tied. Because everybody in the league knows Rutherford, no offense, wants to get rid of Fleury. He's costing the team a lot of money right now to be a backup.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Well, he's almost that's forcing your hand to the Golden Knights to take 2 players. And if I was their GM, that's exactly what I would do. I know there's other teams in a league like Detroit and Colorado that need a goaltender. But let's be honest, the price tag for Fleury is going to be too high for these teams that are, I'm sorry, Detroit and Colorado aren't good right now to invest in. You know what I mean? Whereas the Golden Knights, I'm sorry, I'm thinking about basketball too. Anyway, the Golden Knights, that's their market. They want to come out hitting hard, and they'll pay to have them. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I don't know what you thought. I don't know. What do you think about that? You think they'll steal somebody and then come back to deal with the Penguins for Fleury, or you think they'll just take them?
I didn't think of that scenario. Never crossed my mind. I'm not sure what.
I mean, you got to look at that list. There's a lot of strong, talented, unprotected players on that list.
Sure.
So, I mean, I'm sorry, any Penguin's good except for Mata, but we couldn't get rid of him. I mean, I get why they're protecting him because he's young. He's a young defenseman. They're going to want to protect the youth on the team, but come on. Come on, just get rid of him. Send him to the minors. Do so. I hate that guy.
Really?
I mean, I'd be nice if I met him in person, but he sucks. Come on, you can't tell me, Dan. You can't tell me he didn't look. Did he look good to you in the playoffs?
I think he started off actually okay, and then he kind of got worse.
But in the crucial moments, he chokes. 1-on-1, and he lets the guy get around him and do a wraparound on Murray.
Here's the thing. We've seen him be very good, and I know he could still be very good. I don't know what happened.
The guy needs a sandwich. He doesn't weigh anything, and he's a tall defenseman. A tall, lightweight defenseman. Dan, that's like if Zdeno Chara weighed 150 pounds. He'd be useless. Ooh. They got to fatten him up and make him a hitter. He's got the height to be a hitter.
Yeah, he does.
And they need that. They have offensive defensemen. Hello, Chris Letang. I know he was out in the playoffs, but when he's back next season, they're not going to need a player like Ole Mata to step up and take a shot. They're going to need a player like Ole Mata to shove a guy up into the boards and take the puck away. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So,
but that's just I hate Mata, and I'll never buy a Mata jersey ever. But anyway, but that was a real interesting point that one of my friends on Facebook brought up is the Golden Knights might play that game. It's a gamble for them because somebody could pick up Fleury on a trade, but it's a realistic chance they have to steal 2 players from Pittsburgh.
Sure.
So it's going to be sad to see him go.
It is. Hey, he had a great run.
I wouldn't be surprised if he stays in the league. I'm saying he stays in the league till, his early 40s.
Sure, I could see it.
Just like the Lundqvist did, just like Brodeur did. I think he's a long-term lasting goaltender. He still has that speed and agility that he had when he started. Almost, 13 years ago now?
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you, if he gets at least 5 more years in the NHL, I wouldn't be surprised if Mario makes a move to have him come back to retire as a Penguin.
Wow.
I wouldn't be surprised. I know I'm foresighting very far ahead here, but Mario understands when the fans love a player, the fans love a player, as he was and still is a very loved player and owner now of the team.
Yes.
And those kind of players don't just get pushed off, you know?
Penguins
They find their way back. Yeah, they every Pittsburgh sports team does it. Those players find their way back. So, perfect example was as much as we don't like talking about it, when Dupuis stepped out, the amount of support that everybody gave to him stepping out. Nobody wanted to see him go. But you see what I mean? They do what they can to keep them around. Whereas James Neal, leave. You know what I mean? Matt Cook, get out of here.
Goodbye.
You know,
Delete.
there's those certain players that just make an attachment to not only the city but the fans, and teams find a way to bring them back.
Bill Guerin.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Rick Tocchet.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Bob Airy.
Oh, God.
But, no, seriously, though, I wouldn't be surprised if in a couple seasons when he gets older, they bring him back as a formality, as a backup, to have him retire as a Penguin. I really wouldn't be surprised if they do something like that. That would be great. So, but a lot of other things, like you said, Malkin and Crosby joined a very elite group, 3-time Stanley Cup champs. They're still young. I don't know. I feel like Crosby's got more miles on him than Malkin does, just from injuries.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What do you think about that? Do you think Crosby's going to be able to play as long as, let's say Yager's an example, or do you think he's going to tap out?
It just depends. I think he definitely can go, what is he, 30 now? He's turning 30. Think about it. He's only 30. Wow.
Yeah.
And he's already won 3 Stanley Cups. In my opinion, he is one of the top 5 all-time greatest players. I don't care if people don't like to hear it. I think it's true. And he's up there.
I can agree.
Mario, Gretzky, Bobby Orr, I'd put him up there.
Yeah, I can see it. I agree. But let's think about it for a second here. How much do you really think he's got left in him? They always said that next concussion was going to be the next, his ender. You know that. Back after the one with the outdoor game, they said another concussion and he's done.
Well, he got one.
And he got one. So,
Actually, it's 2, right?
Yeah. But it makes you wonder, these hits that when he does get injured, how much more do you think?
Well, maybe if the league would actually put a hard stance on this to kind of eliminate that, but when you don't, it allows for repeat offenders. So thank you, NHL, for not protecting your stars. Garbage run league.
You know what, though? I will agree with that. I feel, especially in the finals, and it's easier to look back on it now because we're not as heated as we were during the Cup finals, but I mean, really, how many missed calls on both sides?
It was atrocious.
They let them get away. Even the Penguins were guilty of a lot of cheap shots.
Sure.
And it let them go.
I'm sorry.
It's the Cup final. It's everybody's watching it. There's people that aren't major hockey fans that are watching it, and you're letting this dirty play get away.
See, I'm becoming less and less of a fan of playoff hockey. Why is there a difference between what happens in the playoffs and the regular season? Shouldn't it be the same consistently called game, or am I just crazy?
Well, I think. Well, here, let me put it this way: playoff hockey, air quotes, should exist, but in the regard that they're watching them even more, and they call everything.
They're not. They're doing the opposite.
At this stage, when you get to the Cup final, these should be the 2 best, most disciplined playing teams out there, and yet you let this stuff go. I'm sorry, you got to watch them like a hawk. When it's the regular season and players just go out on the ice and it's like, let's say Pittsburgh, Philly. That game is never clean. It doesn't matter.
Never.
It doesn't matter. But that stuff can be let go because it's like game 6 in the first game of the season. We're like 6 games into the season. There's still a whole season to go. Here, it's the Cup finals. There is only 2 or 3 games left. And if you think about it, all the Nashville Predators had to do was take a 4th line forward and tell him, go out there and nail Crosby in the back of the head to take him out of the game.
They wouldn't have done anything. They wouldn't have suspended anyone.
Yeah, they would have suspended him, but Crosby's out the rest of the season. That's why I'm saying if it's going to be playoff hockey, they got to call everything because they can't be letting the league get away with causing injuries like that.
It's awful.
I mean, there's nothing you can do about Bonino's injury because he blocked a shot.
That happens.
But I mean, when Ovechkin and Niskanen ran over Crosby, you got to lay the hammer down. You got to not let that go. Even though he only missed a game, even though it was only a game, someone has to get yoinked from the other team. I mean, it's just how you can't let that go. That bothered me so much because the Penguins were already injured as it was. Every team knew all you had to do was just keep beating them up. Washington, I will give them props. Their plan almost worked. Their goal was to just kind of suffer through the first couple games like they did, but they were taking Penguins out. They were roughing them up. They weren't maybe injuring them except for Crosby, but they were beating them up, bruising them up, making them tired, and it paid off all the way till Game 7 when Fleury decided to stand on his head and shut him out.
Thank God.
If it wasn't for the goaltending, the Capitals' game plan for the Penguins being in the long run for the race would have worked out because they were beat up at Game 7.
They were.
Penguins were tired.
And it showed in the Ottawa series when it started.
Yeah, because they fell behind. And they couldn't get their legs under them. So, I mean, that's my point, though. When you let playoff hockey happen, good teams can get knocked out.
Yep.
Because they know, just take the star players out and they're done. Now, mind you, there's a lot of players to take out if you're going to take the Penguins out. Let's see. If you really wanted to realistically knock the Penguins out via injuries in the playoffs, you'd have to take out Crosby, Malkin, Hornquist, Kessel, both goaltenders this season. You could literally run into Matt Murray, have him carted off the field or off the rink, and while they have Fleury. Like, you'd be concerned for Murray, but you wouldn't be concerned about the game because Fleury's your backup. Like, and then you have all the little guys. Rust could come out and play. Hagelin can come out. Archibald could even come out and play with them and play at playoff caliber.
Wilson, he played good.
Yeah, Wilson, Rowney, Ruhwedel. I mean, it's just everybody was coming out to play in the playoffs this season, and I think that was one of the reasons why
Hainsey.
Injuries.
Unreal, that
Hainsey.
guy.
Mark Streit. I mean, my God. But you're right, though. Hainsey, dude, no playoff games in his career, and he's a Stanley Cup champion his first time around. How about that?
That guy.
But I think that was one of the reasons why the Penguins could kind of survive this round was that mindset of beating them up didn't work because they had so many damn players to use that were good.
Yeah.
Even when the defense got tight, Justin Schultz, give him props. He stepped up and had a phenomenal playoff.
Oh, man, that guy. Wow.
So Dumoulin even really stepped up to the plate.
Somebody said this, and I think it sums up this team perfectly. The toughest team in the history of Pittsburgh sports, the Pittsburgh Penguins right now. The toughest team. Toughest. That's the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
And it starts with Sullivan. Sullivan has that room like nobody since Badger Bob.
You know what? That is a very good point. And if you've noticed back when we had other coaches like Bylsma and Therrien and Johnson, yeah, the accountant, the command of the players wasn't there.
No, it wasn't. That was the problem.
You could see it in post-game interviews. You could see it in their play because they take fighting majors, and series would get out of hand real quick in the playoffs.
Flyers, Bruins.
Because the discipline, yeah. But Sullivan's got it, and every time you hear them in their post-game interviews, it's almost like it's a recording. We didn't play the game the right way. We had our chances, but we didn't finish them. We need to play better next game. And they all said the same thing each time. And it's something that I don't know if it's his charisma, if it's his demeanor, his presence, whatever it is. He not only has the command of those players on the ice, but he has their respect.
Yes.
And I'll never forget it. I don't remember what game it was. And I want to say maybe it was Dumoulin on the bench. and something happened. The Penguins got scored on. They come back to the bench, and whatever player it was making his case to Sullivan. And Sullivan literally has the clipboard in his hand, and he goes, "I don't care. I need you here."
He doesn't. I love it. I love that guy.
I don't remember. I wish I could remember what game that was, but I remember seeing that, and I'm like, wow. And the player didn't say a word back to him. The player said his piece. His coach responded, and that was the end of it. There wasn't this barking on the bench. When you see stuff get out of hand, there was this respect. And it goes more or less even further to the playoff finals or the Senator series. Kessel's yelling at the bench. We all saw it. He's talking to himself. Whoever's around him, for God's sake. NBC made a freaking montage of him talking to himself. And Rick Tocchet is letting him go. He's listening. If you watch, he's listening. And Mike Sullivan's on the other side of the bench, not even paying attention to it, because he's letting Phil be Phil.
That's Phil.
He's letting him do what he needs to do. And as a result, instead of him coming over or saying anything to change his tone and calm him down, he lets him keep going, and lo and behold, he scores the only goal in the game.
Wow.
Meanwhile, on the other side, he has the command of Malkin, that when Malkin's upset, there was the picture of him leaning over Malkin's shoulder talking to him. He knows how to handle each player.
Bylsma and Johnston didn't.
And no, they stood there.
Yeah.
They stood there with their hands behind their back and looking like they're trying to figure something out. And they weren't. They looked like they just were like,
huh?
Here was their face. No, wait, here was their face. Meanwhile, for God's sake, Sullivan got ejected for yelling at a ref.
He did. I remember that game.
How many times have we seen Sullivan yelling at a ref? He'll be doing whatever it is. He'll be yelling. All of a sudden, he says, "Come here, come here.
I gotta talk to you.
Come here." And then after the ref says his piece, he's just like, whatever, and he turns his head. He's just off.
He's had it.
But no, seriously though, he is very, very good.
First American-born to win back-to-back cups, I believe.
Yeah.
Wow.
I believe that is true.
Unreal.
So
it's just...
he is the main cornerstone. We always say, Crosby and Malkin are the cornerstone. He is also a main cornerstone,
yes,
because he has pulled this group together. He has pulled the right strings. He's made the right moves. And they've set up this really strong team between the Penguins and Wilkes-Barre.
Well, he was there, so he knows.
Well, that's what I mean. He knows who to pull out of the minors to play up here. And give him credit, a little step further up in the chain of command. Rutherford's made some good moves.
It starts with him, too. You couldn't been here with... I mean, look at what Shero brought in Scuderi. And look what Rutherford did with him. Got rid of him, you brought in Daly, and look at the difference. I mean, Shero made some good moves. Don't get me wrong, but towards the end, it was kind of getting ugh. You saw the team's bad. It just didn't pan out.
No, they tried. Shero tried to make that one offensive powerhouse team. Where you remember all the guys he brought again, and Morrow and Murray and all those guys. It was supposed
to be our year to win.
That was the Penguins' year, and we fell flat on our face because the puzzle pieces weren't right. Because they forgot to put the players that are setup players on the ice.
Yep.
Whereas in this playoff, it wasn't, Crosby needs to score the goals. No, it was Connor Sheary, and not really Connor Sheary a lot, but Jake Gensel.
Wow.
It was Crosby, find Gensel.
Look at what Gensel did.
I remember we talked about this. I was at his first game where he scored the 2 goals.
Did you know?
I was there.
Did you know what this kid was going to do? I would never have thought.
No, but it looked pretty damn promising at that game.
Yeah, I remember that game. Whew.
We lost, but
hey, he made his debut.
He woke everybody up to say he was a good player, and he made his stay. But what was different was, and this was my point, Crosby didn't need to score the goals. He scored goals, and they were timely goals, but it wasn't always Crosby that had to score. Crosby instead could be entering the zone and making a ridiculous pass.
He's phenomenal with
through 3. Right. Make this ridiculous pass through 3 people to a wide open Jake Gensel. The setup man. I always said if you're going to win a cup, there has to be players that are willing to set somebody else up. And that's what they had. The defensemen in this case weren't offensive defensemen. They were setup defensemen to get players like Malkin, Kessel, Crosby, Hornquist, and all them open and then use them. Same thing when it was the forwards. The Sid and the Kid line worked because everybody thought, okay, well, Jake Ensel's a rookie and Connor Sheary's not doing too well. Everybody focus on Crosby. So you'd see Crosby enter the zone. There's 3 jerseys facing him. And one of them is wide open. And every time that puck found its way through. And it was tape to tape. It wasn't, something where one of them had to stretch. That thing was on the money. And when that happens, they made any goaltender look silly. They made Holtby look silly. They made Anderson look silly. They made Rene look silly. They made Bobrovsky look like a fool.
I remember him.
I mean, they racked up, let's see. Nashville, they put 6 on.
They've chased all those goalies out of the net.
Ottawa, they put 7. Washington, they put, what was that score? 6-2? Was it 6 or was it 7? Game 2.
Might have been 7.
It might have been. And then Columbus. What was the blowout game in Columbus? Well, most of them were, but
I'd have to go back and look.
I think it was at least 5. I mean, that doesn't happen in the playoffs. No team's supposed to score that much, except for when Edmonton screwed up, but that's a different story. 7-0. Woof. But no, they had all the puzzle pieces this year. The only chink in the armor that could have possibly been there was the defense was a little weak, and that's because Letang was out.
That was to be expected, though.
Right, and that was the only weak spot. The goaltending, it didn't matter who you had. Both of them were good. Forward-wise, it was next man up. They never were short. They always had somebody out there that would step up and play. So, I mean, this was, once again, another pieced-together team that worked. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens as we go into the 2017-18 season. It's really going to be interesting because now Murray is going to be the 60 to 70 game starter. He's going to get the majority of the starts, and the backup guy is going to be a true rookie backup with no experience besides playing the Rangers in the last game of the season where only half the team dressed. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So goaltending-wise, they're going to lose a big piece. We don't know if Dad's going to retire.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah. We don't know if he's going to stay. I think he should.
He looks so happy on the ice with his kids.
I just think as even on the first Stanley Cup, he probably could have retired.
Sure.
But now that you've won 2 back-to-back, now it's like you've won the gamble.
3, right, with Carolina.
Well, no, what I meant is the fact that he had won 2 more at his age now.
Yes.
It's almost like, all right, you're at the casino cash out.
He's got a family. Yeah, he's got the future.
He's had a great career with the Penguins. He's had a great NHL career. And just let it end on a high note. Don't try to suck another season out of it, He'll be missed, just like Billy Guerin was, and like Gary Roberts was. But move on, retire, enjoy it. Take care of your kids. So, I'm trying to think who else. I don't think anybody else was thinking of retiring.
No.
Mm-mm. Now it's just we have to see when the Golden Knights do their draft if they take who they take. I mean, I'm leaning strongly toward the Fleury idea. They're just going to pick him up and be done with it. But at the other hand, they might try to play the deal game. And it's going to be nerve-wracking if we don't hear Fleury's name get called, because then it's going to be, well, now what? Because the Penguins, let's be honest, they really don't want to hold on to him. Costs too much to be a backup. And that's just going to be really awkward too. You know what I mean? Because he's setting the stage that he wants to leave. It'd be really weird if they don't deal him away in the offseason and he comes back. It's going to be that weird, awkward, like, we thought you were leaving kind of thing. You know what I mean? So, but we'll see.
By the way, I had
up?
to bring this up. Did you catch the post game on Channel 11 once they won the cup?
No.
You had a chance to watch any of that?
No.
Albie Oxenrider was so terrible at reporting. The way he was shoving his microphone in the player's face. Like, he was just being rude. Like, he was trying to talk to Sid, and Sid pretty much blew him off. He's like, yeah, I kind of got to go. I have the Stanley Cup with me. He's trying to stick the microphone in his face to get questions out of him. It's like, oh, and the funny part was, you have to look this up. So somebody asked Matt Murray what it was like to get the cup handed from Fleury to him. And then Oxenrider goes over and literally asks him the exact same question. And Murray said, well, I just answered that question 10 seconds ago. He blew him off. It was great. Just Murray's. You have to look that up. Murray.
I got to look that up. I saw the original where the guy from the Canadian network was the one that asked him the question.
Yeah, and then he asked him the same. He's like, I just answered that 10 seconds.
Like, what? Come on, you're not listening?
He was
I always told you. Pittsburgh sports media, not the best in the world at all. Sorry.
Another one in the parade. Did you see Malkin almost drop the cup?
No, I didn't see that one.
Handed it to him, and Gino went, oh. On his shoulder. I'm like, oh, shit. There goes the Stanley Cup.
I can only imagine how many times that thing's been dropped.
It's been dropped. It's been thrown into pools. It's just
didn't Mario jump in with it this year?
I can't verify that.
Somebody was saying that on someone was saying that at the house party he jumped in the pool with the cup. Could you imagine Mario jumping in a pool with a Stanley Cup?
Oh my god. That parade was so fun. You know what I liked about the parade this year? And I went last year. I didn't like last year how it ended at Stanwix. I like this year. They went to Point State Park.
Where you're supposed to go.
Thank you. I mean, I'm looking at the photo right now. Look at that. That is 10 times better than what – I don't know.
Wasn't that where they went in 09?
No. I don't know where they went in 09. But they did that in 91. The first parade went to the Point.
Well, that's because it's where you're supposed to go. It's Pittsburgh. It's an iconic place.
I don't know if you went to the parade last year, but no. I was not a fan of where it ended. It was just
the last year's didn't make much sense.
It was a cluster. This year, I love the way that they exited the cars. They got up to the stage. It sounded like the other thing about last year's parade, I couldn't hear what they were saying. Like literally, the sound quality sucked. So I think that it was awful. Honestly, it was. Like Rutherford, remember I told he was mumbling, and Sid, it was funny. I was watching on the parade too. Staggy's like, put the mic up closer to your mouth. Sid was talking. It's like, thank you. That was great. That was a great parade.
It was good. I got to saw some of it. I didn't get to see all of it, but
wow.
Maybe we'll do it again next year.
650,000 packed downtown. Hey, we did it right. 0 arrests. Everybody had fun.
Yeah, no one got out of hand.
That's how you do it. That's how you celebrate.
Dan, they celebrated the right way.
Yep.
All goes back to the coach.
Yep.
It goes back to the coach. But as we get closer to the end of this podcast here, Dan, let me ask you this. All season, I'll give you a minute to think about it. What was your favorite memorable moment? You can't say the cup. That's excluded.
Oh, I know what it is.
Favorite moment of this season?
Chris Kunitz, game winner, overtime, game 7, sends us to the Stanley Cup.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, that was a good one. I remember I must have watched that replay about 30 times on my phone.
Just from, you knew they were going to score, but when it finally happened, you could just feel them coming, and they kept coming, and they kept, it was going to happen, but you were also getting worried. You're like, oh, shit.
I mean, I thought Doc Emmerich's call where he had a heart attack was better. Oh, my God. I love him to death, but he makes some of the greatest damn calls when teams score.
That place went nuts. Oh, my goodness.
That was phenomenal. I mean, that's a good moment. I think another one that I'd have to put up there because it really, really got me caught off guard. Sitting down, game 1, round 1, Starting lineups are rolling out of the boards, and who is first out on the ice?
Fleury.
Yep. That's my moment because nobody in that arena was ready for that.
Nope.
Everybody was thinking, all right, the mainstay, Matt Murray's coming in. We're going to have solid goaltending tonight. I'm sure some fans caught the injury where he left but most people probably were caught up in the hype and not thinking about it. But even Bob Airy, who was making the call, he's like, wait, what? What? Fleury's coming out to start?
Get the fuck back.
That was my moment because that really, and you saw the energy that came into that arena when they heard him. When they saw him come on the ice.
He spoke into the.
He spoke. Here I am.
I'll be back.
But I mean, just the atmosphere of that arena to see that he was getting the start that night was unreal, and I mean that put me in a good mood for the Cup. Game one. I was already invested. I was like, that's it. This is it. This is the run. And it all started off on the right foot. So, I was thinking about maybe if there are any better moments in the middle of the season, but I'll be honest, that was one of the genuine most exciting moments that I've seen in a while because that was literally a wild card.
Actually, can I make it? I even have
late submission.
You're gonna my moment from this season was Derek Bentley's national anthem performance.
Oh my god.
That was one of the worst. I'm sorry.
Wait, Dan, here.
It was butchered.
It put everybody to sleep. That didn't get anybody into the game.
Jeff Jimerson, he ain't.
Oh my god. You know what? Someone made a point. Jeff Jimerson, and I like him. He's not the grand best national anthem singer in the world.
No, but he does it right.
Right. But here was the thing, someone brought up a good point. They kept using Jeff Jimerson just to be like, he's better than like Carrie Underwood or Dirk Bentley or whoever the hell else you want to put out there to try to get your crowd going. All we need is Jeff Jimerson.
That's it.
The Penguins are going. And you know what else pissed me off? Quick aside here. Talk about Nashville being whatever Smashville, Stupidville. Listen. I've watched a ton of Stanley Cup playoff hockey. I watched almost every game. Not talking Pittsburgh Penguins. I'm talking
the whole thing.
All of the games. If I had an ability to watch it, I watched some of it. You know what I watched in almost every single national anthem this season, whether it was the Canadian anthem or was the U.S. national anthem? The arena sang with the singer. And what did not happen in Nashville?
They didn't sing.
They never, ever sung with the singer. Like, come on. You guys are supposed to be the best fans in the sport. And yet you don't sing the national anthem. All you guys are good at doing is saying, all your fault. All your fault. Well, it's all your fault. You guys lost the Stanley Cup.
Sucked out the air in the building.
Yeah, and you know what? That was the other thing. I'm glad we won on the road just to stick it to Nashville.
Yeah, they didn't like that.
You see all the crap they threw on the freaking rink at the end of the game?
What a way to be classy.
What a joke. Like, really, I get it. I'm sure. One day we'll be we were on the receiving end in 2008 when Detroit won the Cup.
Sure, it happened. But I don't remember our fans.
But we hated it because you should. But we didn't throw shit.
You don't do that.
I mean, that's just let them have it. The Cups. I mean, there's nothing you can do as a fan. Just sit there and look. You can at least look at it.
I mean, that's a history in the making, you know?
So, I mean, it just reminds me a lot of Philadelphia last year when they played the Caps. You remember they gave their team a penalty?
That was great. Yeah.
And Simmons on the bench was like, really? Really, guys?
I mean,
we got to serve a penalty for you.
Well, they deserved that a long time ago.
That's why they're golfing already in April. But
delete.
Oh, see, here's the problem now, Dan. We're done. But what the hell am I supposed to watch for the next 3 months?
Buccos.
No, they did win. They did win tonight. They won 2 against the Blue Crew.
Woo!
They're hanging around, Dan. They're hanging around.
I haven't watched a game since April.
I can't. I can't get into it. I mean,
Don't
I'll
do it.
watch, but I'm not as excited as I used to be. But anyway, that's a different podcast for a different time that'll never happen. But
Never will.
seriously though, I got nothing, Dan. I've been trying to find some hockey to watch.
You could just watch Game 6 on replay.
You know, I did that already today.
Over and over.
As great as it was, I can't. I don't know what I'm gonna do for the next 3 months, Dan, till preseason.
Withdrawals.
It's thank God it's a short off season.
Yes.
This is why they need to keep winning the cup over and over again because
So
I
you
got
keep
nothing
it
to
short.
do. I mean, just when's preseason?
September. That's not.
I know
far
the
away.
schedule got released.
Wow. That is crazy.
I think we're playing Columbus in one of the games.
Oh boy.
So, but I want to see who we're doing banner raising night against. I don't think the Capitals are going to show up for that. I don't think they're going to want it.
The Flyers would be nice.
You know, I'm trying to think. I would really, really want it to be Nashville.
Yeah.
Just one more time, just to remind you.
Rub
Really
it in,
want-
man.
Just to rub it in because you guys thought you were going to be the 16 seed that was going to win. Like
Maybe they
the
could raise a catfish.
like the genuine lowest seed in the playoffs thought they were going to win the Stanley Cup against one of the teams that could have been the number 1 overall. Come on.
Come on, man.
Come on. I mean, they had us nail biting after game 4, but game 5 put it away.
Right.
So, but Dan, yeah, we're going to be done for a couple months here.
This is it.
At least till preseason when maybe we'll have an early podcast to make our predictions. Maybe we'll do a record prediction this year, Dan.
Sure.
We haven't done that yet, so maybe we'll give that a shot. And we'll see what comes around after all the trades are made and the draft picks are made, and we'll see what kind of team we're looking at coming into preseason. So it's been real, Dan. It's been fun. It has been real fun.
Yes, it has. It always is.
It's been enjoyable to be here. We actually finally got to watch a playoff game together, even though we lost.
Hey.
But, it was fun.
It was.
All the time we spent on here, probably spent about 5-6 hours total us chit-chatting on here.
A lot of chat.
It's been fun. To our audience, it's been fun chatting with you, supporting the Penguins all the way. It's going to be a short off season, Dan, and they'll be right back at it. But to us, it's going to feel like a year.
It will.
So
I already.
that's about it. We'll wrap it up, Dan. As always, you know who you want to shout out to. Go ahead.
Absolutely, guys. With things picking up for wrestling, be sure to check out my wrestling channel as we head into SummerSlam. It'll be happening in August. So go to youtube.com/DanielGuys412 for all my latest thoughts on the WWE product.
Yep. It's somber, dude. Like, we're done talking about hockey.
I never want to be done talking about hockey. But they won, so I will have a smile all summer long.
You know how many times I'm going to wear this shirt, like, everywhere.
Sure.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
It's just everywhere. I'll be in the shower. I'll wear it. I'll get clean with this. So
Mine's coming in on Thursday. Still waiting.
Oh, my. Alrighty. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in as always.
Thank you.
We'll catch you guys next season. We'll start talking preseason in a couple weeks because it will be literally a couple weeks. And we'll see what next season brings. We'll make our predictions then. Until then, we'll take our summer siesta. And we'll see you guys when the Penguins try to do it all over again for a three-peat next season, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the Stanley Cup Championship as much as we did, and we will catch you guys all next time. Take care.
Farewell.